slow, live it up, watching time go. Planning moves, things solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Live slow, live it up, watching time go. Making moves, things solid to this cheat code. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. Get your money, make it big, fuck being broke. This how it is, the mission's Benjamins. And fuck the drama and the bullshit, we ain't little kids. My circle small, but my riders heart, they never quit. Get your money, keep it gangsta, solid, straight legit. Never switch like the real ones that die for this. It's fucked up, but this is truly how it is. I hope you're ready if you're picking this like full of sin. No turning back, I represent my vital to the end. Fuck the fakes and the snakes and everyone that hates. I'm not phased, I won't break, bitch, I'll never.
You are now watching M.O.D Entertainment.
Oh, what's good, G-Life? You already know the get down. This right here is beautiful Killer Cali, California. You already know California, being home to the glamorous life, Hollywood, sandy beaches, palm trees, beautiful weather, and all that. But also is gangbang capital, home of a gang of neighborhoods, you know, from black, Hispanic, white, Asian, everything in between, bro. You know what I mean? You name it, they got it. Sad, but true. Reality. You know what I mean? Now, today we're going to be covering all city barrios. You know, barrios with the name city on the title of it. And now, this one is going to be done in several episodes because obviously I wasn't able to fit them all in one. You know what I mean? It's going to be, I'm going to have to break it down in about 3 to 4 episodes. So if you guys don't see one of the neighborhoods in this list, it's going to be coming in the next list. I'm pretty sure, you know, I got them down. So this is just part 1. You know what I mean? Because I know people like to say, hey, you forgot this one, you forgot that one. It's only part 1. So with no further ado, let's get into it. All right, now starting off for the first one, we're going to have to make our way down to the area of Los Angeles, but not just Los Angeles, but the area actually of Mid-City. You know what I mean? Is where we're able to find, you know, one of these city neighborhoods, the more recognizable city neighborhood. When people think about city neighborhoods, it's probably one of the first ones that comes up to mind just because this neighborhood is massive, is well known, notorious, dangerous, and is spread out to several different locations with hundreds of members. You know what I mean? At least from what I was told, roughly more than 650 members throughout their history of existence. Is the Varrio Mid-City Stoners. MCS, Mid-City Stoners, is a Mexican-American neighborhood located right here in Los Angeles, also in Long Beach, Antelope Valley, Portland, Oregon, and etc. You know what I mean? Like when I said they're spread out, I mean they're spread out, bro. They got, in Mexico, they got homies throughout, you know, different spots. You know what I mean? This is one of these neighborhoods. And it's a trip because it's not that old. It's been roughly around since the 60s, 70s when this neighborhood was established. And when it first started, it was just a stoner group. It was just known as a stoner, you know, club. You know, they used to like to hear rock and roll and you know, and smoke, you know, marijuana back in them times. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, as time, you know, kept going and, you know, different groups wanting to clash with them and then defending themselves and retaliating, it manifested and mutated and morphed into the neighborhood that we know of it today as the notorious Mid-City Stoners. Because even though they, you know, started off as just a stoner club that used to like hearing rock and roll, smoke some bud. And actually, that's the reason why they kept the name Stoners, you know, attached to their name to pay homage to the Rolling Stones, at least from what I was told. You get what I'm saying? And like I said, this neighborhood is massive with more than 600 members, which is already a gang of, you know, heads as it is. And not just spread out, you know, through Oregon, Antelope Valley and all of that, but also spread out throughout Los Angeles because you can't only find them just like in the Mid-City area, you know what I mean? The west side of Mid-City. You can find them in the east side, you know, like where they have the clica, the Crenshaw Boys clique is one of their clicas, which is based around the Queen Anna Park, located on West Boulevard in the Mid-City, you know, Wilshire area of Los Angeles. You know, it gets notorious right there. You know what I mean? Their territory stretches throughout Olympic, through Pico Boulevard to Crenshaw. And then you have the Hubbard Boulevard Locos, which is one of their main clicas. You know what I mean? It's pretty well-known, respected clique of theirs. You know, it's very active. It's been active since, you know, roughly around the 80s. And their neighborhood is everything between the Adamore Avenue and Western near 11th Street. They share parts of their neighborhood with the Rolling 20s. You feel me? The Rolling 20 Bloods. Not to get it confused, with the Crips, but Rolling 20 Bloods, which is obviously an old neighborhood in itself. So there's not the best relationship. Mid-City Stoner. The gang doesn't have the best relationship with like Crips or Blood gangs. They tend to feud, heavily with them. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes, especially in their Long Beach clique. You know what I'm saying? Because it'd be getting treacherous right there. Because you could also find them in Long Beach, despite what individuals are gonna want to say. Hey, my boy, it is what it is. Those are the facts. Now, because this neighborhood is very notorious, they're known as cop killers. Just guys running amok, especially their 33rd Street locals clique, you know what I mean? That's located right there in the east of Los Angeles, named after the 33rd Street between Compton and Long Beach Boulevard. That's the one that right there overlaps with 38th Street, and other Latino gangs, so you could already imagine how chaotic it gets right there. And then in Long Beach, in the east of Long Beach, you have their 19th Street locals, which is their main clique right there in Long Beach, surrounded by a gang of enemies, because they beef with the Rolling 20 Cribs, with the Insane Cribs, and then, you got the feud with the Bloods, and they don't really have that many allies, just maybe like 42nd Street's probably the only ones, because then you got a mess right there that they beef it heavily with the Mid-City Winos. They're not the same as Mid-City Stoners. That's the MS clique, so, you could already see why there's tension, and they beef with 18 Playboys, P-Stone, so it be getting chaotic right here, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, the Mid-City neighborhood still continues to represent theirs. And for the next barrio up on the list, we don't actually have to even drive far at all. You know what I mean? The next area we would have to head down towards is to the Harbor area. The Harbor area is home to one of these city neighborhoods. You know what I mean? One of these infamous neighborhoods throughout this area that is well known when we're thinking about city neighborhoods, which is the Varrio Harbor City Boys, or as is better known as Harbor City Rifa. It started off as Harbor City Boys, but then they ended up just dropping the boy part and keeping the Rifa. So you see it up as, Rifa more. But either one could be seen right. It's just, one is the original name, and then one was when, they just dropped the boy part and just, kept the Rifa. Because when these neighborhoods started, people have to keep it in mind. When all these neighborhoods started, it was started by young youths. You know what I mean? Young kids. And then as they got older, you already know, mentalities changing and etc. Now, the Varrio Harbor City Rifa originated around the Harbor Village projects, formerly known as the Normand Terrace housing projects, which is the same projects that they have to share with the Harbor City Cribs. So the Harbor City Rifa and Harbor City Crips, not to be confused, two separate gangs. I know they're almost written the same and, sounds the same, but they're two different gangs, one being Crip, one being Hispanic. And this, as a matter of fact, is one of the areas that I'm talking about where Hispanic gangs and black gangs could coexist, because even though they're both located here in the housing projects, they don't have beef with each other. Seems like they, get along, pretty good. You know what I mean? And that's due to the fact that they have the same common enemies, because, both black and them, beefing it with all, Torrance gangs, San Pedro gangs, and Wilmington gangs. It only sees fit right, since they have these beef, with all these areas around them. It's kind of like they're surrounded. It's better to have, an ally that's your neighbor than another person added to the beef that's already, piled on as it is. So it's beneficial for both of them. You get what I'm saying? And the Harbor City Boys have several cliques, you know what I mean? Like they have their 255th Streets, because that's their main domain dojo where they hold it down, you know what I mean? They have the Baby Locals, they have the 256th Street High Times, so, you can find them on 256 as well. You have the Tiny Locals, Pee-wees, Little Locals, you know what I mean? So they have several cliques to them, because they are, they're not a large gang, but they're an average size gang, a few hundred members. To the Harbor City gang. This gang has been active for about, 2 decades already, you know what I mean? Has maintained right there strongly and held it down, you know what I mean? These guys ain't no suckers, they've been holding it down, writing, they're already an old school neighborhood out of the Harbor area. And like I said, because right here, it gets chaotic, bro. If you're ever in this area, keep a trucha, because like I said, it cracks right here, because they have very, strong beefs with like Torrance, with Wilmington, especially with Wilmington. Them in Wilmington is like forget about it, dog. You know what I mean? And the San Pedro gangs. And I'm telling you, man, there's just like all kinds of beef around this area. It ain't no joke, you know. You definitely want to be on your toes around these parts, because it does be getting treacherous right here. But you know, the Harbor City rifa still continues to represent right there. You know what I mean? For that HXCR or HXC, either one. You know, you could even see with the B. They have multiple ways of writing it, just like several other neighborhoods. But that's what's up with the Harbor City rifa. Another neighborhood that we have right here in the Los Angeles area. Now, for this one, we actually have to make our way to the area that is known as Nella. Nella, you know, being infamous for several neighborhoods, including one that often gets forgotten because, you know, is not as large as some of the other neighborhoods around this area. Although it's large, but in a different way. It's large because they're a neighborhood that's spread out to different locations as well. You know what I mean? You can find them throughout Northern California. They're, you know, they have upstate homies, you know, upstate sureños, in Modesto from this barrio, and several other locations, you know, up in Northern California. Not only that, you can find them in Palm. You can find them in the San Fernando Valley. You can find them in Washington. You can find them in Arizona. You can find them in different spots. You know what I mean? So this neighborhood, you know, is spread out. So they have a few hundred members to them, but just spread out, scattered. You know, but each individual clique handling theirs. And right here being no different. But this is right here is their birthplace. This is where they started. This is where it all began, which is the Varrio BC. BC translating to Varrio Brick City. Yes, brick like a ladrillo, like a brick. Brick City. Now, the reason why it's known as Brick City is because their home and originated out of the William Housing Projects. And if anybody's seen the William Housing Projects, that's why I put up a picture right here of it. You can see, you know, it's made out of bricks. You know what I mean? It has a brick structure to it. You know what I mean? The appearance. That is why they were known as Brick City. And yes, the William Housing Project is home to the oldest barrio, legendary barrio, you know, Dogtown Rifa. You know, the originators, you know, and everything like that. They were the dominant gang. But a group of individuals, you know, started their own clica. You know, these guys wanted them to get into their barrio. They said chales. They wanted to do their own thing. And then beef began. But even though these guys were heavily outnumbered, they always stood their ground, boy. You know what I'm saying? They never let themselves. They maintained right there, holding it down for theirs, and continue to do so. You know what I mean? You know, they showed heart and weren't going to let another bigger gang just punk them around. You know what I mean? They were going to stand their ground and do their dues. You know, and then they spread it out to different locations like, Alhambra is also in Alhambra, one of the few barrios in Alhambra. Yes, barrios are in Alhambra, despite what people are gonna want to say, like, nah, it's right over there, ain't nothing over there. There's barrios over there, boy. They got a malditos clica over there and everything, you know what I'm saying? And then the San Fernando Valley as well, in North Hollywood, in front of the Lancashire Swami, those apartments, that is where they were, right there in the 818. And like I said, just spread out in different locations, homie, with a few hundred members. You know, they're about real barrio, homie, that held it down right there for theirs. You know, these guys ain't no suckers, you know what I mean? One of the few barrios that often gets forgotten when people speak about Nella, but is, you know, a real neighborhood and still their home where they hold it down. And as a matter of fact, they have some rapper, you know, right here on YouTube. You could scope out his music, Mr. Pops. He has chingon music, you know what I mean? I recommend it. You'll definitely like the jam. You know, he's got vibe and rhythm and rhymes, so, you know, you could scope that out right here on YouTube. But that's what's up with the Brick City barrio right here, holding it down. Now, for the next barrio on the list, we actually have to make our way to the area of Orange County. Yes, Orange County is actually home to several city neighborhoods. But for this one, we actually have to make our way to the area of Anaheim. Anaheim being a very notorious neighborhood area right here in Orange County, jam-packed full of dozens of gangs, you know, old school roots in itself too, you know, not just Los Angeles, not just San Diego, not just IE. Orange County has old school roots right here, with barrios and struggles, just like anywhere else, you know, with raza Hispanics, you know what I mean? That has been going on for so long. And if anything, it was even worse over here because the racism was twice as bad as anywhere else. You know, you guys can look up the reports yourselves. You know what I mean? The hate crimes here were grave, you know what I'm saying? And the law enforcement were crooked. You go look up the law enforcement in Orange County. They're some of the more crookeder ones, you know what I mean? And racist, that there is. That's no lie. These guys aren't just making up all this, fabricating all this shit. You can look it up yourself. This shit was no joke over here in Orange County. The raza was suffering a lot, and originally all these neighborhoods banded together. As a matter of fact, they were only allowed to travel in certain spots, you know what I mean? The raza, they pretty much couldn't go to certain places. They had to stay in their own barrios. That's some kind of shit, bro. You know what I mean? So these groups banded together, formed their own gangs, and it just mutated after that. And one of the neighborhoods started right here in the 1970s, which is known as the Varrio AJC. AJC standing for Varrio Anaheim Jungle City. Yes, like a jungle. Jungle City is a real barrio right here in Anaheim. How it got its name is actually was given to them by law enforcement. The cops referred to that area as the jungle. Because originally, before it was called the jungle, this neighborhood actually started in the 50s. It was known as the Chevy Chase. You know what I'm saying? And then, when the Huda just decided to call that, that part of the area the jungle, because, man, it was crazy out there, homie. Like I said, it was treacherous. So they referred to it as the jungle. So these guys just embraced that phrase and saying, and then just changed the name of their barrio to the Jungle City, Anaheim Jungle City. And since then, that is, how they maintain themselves. And their barrio is everything that's from Euclid Street all the way to La Palma Avenue, all the way to Harbor Boulevard. The territory still stretches. Now, as we maintain ourselves right here in Anaheim, because I wasn't playing when I said that there's several barrios right here in this area. I mean, there's several. There's another one that is actually right here in Anaheim. This one being referred to as the Varrio APC. APC translating to Varrio Anaheim Penguin City. Yes, you heard right. Penguin City, like a penguin. No, I'm not making that up. It's real shit. Barrio Penguin City is a very, old school barrio, already dated. It's one of Anaheim's oldest barrios, bro. Let's put it like that. Dating back to like the 30s and 40s, you know what I mean? Old school barrio, that has roots and made headlines several times. This is another neighborhood that's made headlines several times. Even though they're not a large neighborhood and their territory is not, large in itself, these guys were no joke. And their barrio was everything that was from Santa Ana Street to Harbor Boulevard to Water Street and all the way to Anaheim Boulevard. You know what I mean? So it's just a small chunk of territory, throughout Lemon Street, and all these cul-de-sacs, like Helena Street. You could also find them on Dickel Street, Clementine Street, all of that was considered their barrio. And the heart of the hood, their dojo, their domain, is where the Little People's Park is at. The Little People's Park, yes, that's the name of the park. And this barrio, Penguin City, everyone refers to this area as Penguin City. There's very different versions of the story of why it's referred to as Penguin City. I heard many different versions, like over a team. They were named after a team. Then I heard because there was some lady that was always at the park that walked like a penguin, and she used to take care of all the kids in the barrio and stuff like that. There was that, and there's several different tales. So depends which one you want to take what you want from that. And this barrio actually made the news headline because they had riots over here in Orange County. The little people riots that occurred when law enforcement was abusing their power, handcuffing the raza and beating them. You guys can look this up. You know what I mean? I'll probably make a video talking about these incidents, about these riots that occurred over here in Orange County that people seem to forget. You know what I mean? It's part of our Chicano history on how law enforcement and how the government abused their power and how our raza was getting mistreated. You know what I'm saying? This is real shit. It's not fabricated. It's not made up. It's public record, but people would have to actually know about these cases and search it up themselves to learn about it, because shit, for damn sure they're not gonna teach it to you. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying. But yes, this barrio, maintaining it right here still for theirs and putting theirs on the map in the Penguin City. And now for the next one on the list, this one probably being the largest one out of the city ones. Now for this one, this neighborhood territory is actually pretty, massive. It's pretty big. It is actually known as the Varrio ATC, but not to be confused with the Alley Tiny Criminals, and not to be confused with the Alley Tiny Criminals Alley Boys. No relationship, just same abbreviation, different barrios. You know what I mean? Because this one actually stands for Anaheim Travelers City. Yes, Barrio Anaheim Traveler City, like you're a traveler. That is the name of their barrio. Now, the reason I was at least told for what the name of this barrio is because they used to be a team, a football team. And, when they transitioned it, usually had games before. Oh, no, I think it was a baseball. I forgot if he said baseball or football team. Either way. So back then when, these kids used to play, woo, they had their teams and everything like that. And then, fights would break out because, gente was agüita because they lost. And then, retaliation, and then these teams manifested and mutated into gangs. You know what I mean? The fist fights went to baseball bats, baseballs turned into knives turned into guns, and you can already see where I'm going with this. And their barrio is everything that's from Harbor Boulevard to Broadway to Anaheim Boulevard and back all the way to La Palma Avenue. So we're talking about a massive amount of territory, bro. Throughout Pearson Park, throughout all that area, throughout those back streets, throughout North, everything, throughout Lemon Street that slices through their barrio as well. All of that is what's considered, the Cypress Street as well. All of that is what's considered the Barrio Travelers neighborhood. You know what I mean? Which, like I said, is a massive amount of territory. And this gang is, a few hundred members to them. One of Anaheim's oldest barrios as well. You know what I'm saying? Dating back, at least from what I was told, to the, 30s, when this neighborhood was established. And like I said, they just been right here and continue to still be right here and putting it down for theirs in the Traveler City right there.
Thank you for watching M.O.D Entertainment. Make sure you like and subscribe.